Hey, what's going on YouTube? My name's Glutenslayer, back from a week-long vacation. Where have you been, Glutens? Been getting some sun, playing some Wesker. Got myself up to top 50 global with my Wesker deck. The last video, check it out. You want a good deck? And now that I think the season's coming to an end, I want to do a video that just sort of had like all the meta decks combined, and actually was on Reddit. And I saw a great post from Iowateppen that was sort of break down the meta and like the top 6 decks. I'll put a link. This is a great post. He put a lot of effort into it. I'll put a link in the description. Go check it out. Give him some love. Give him a couple upvotes on this Reddit post. It's only 91. Let's get it to 111 at least. Come on. So he goes in really in depth here. I'm just going to skim through it. He has a lot of great decks in here. So if you're looking for a deck, a meta deck, you're like, I need a good deck to craft. You know, you only have a certain amount of souls and you want to craft one good deck. There's some great decks in here, so stay tuned. Here we'll go through and we'll just take a peek at all the decks and sort of comment on them of the Season 1 meta. So stay tuned. Flashy cutscene, no cutscene? Okay. So let's get right into it. In a nutshell, he breaks down the top meta decks, and for Ryu, you got the Hadouken and the Rinky decks, the Rinky Dinky decks. For Rathalos, it's pretty much just the red-green Rathawoken. That seems to be the Rathalos go-to. If you want to play Rathalos, that's the deck to play. Chunli, you have the Yawn decks and the Cacao decks. For Dante and Morgan, it's Devil Trigger and Dark Illusion is what he's got here, and they all play very, very similar. Albert Wesker, I think Dark Destruction is the best Albert Wesker. I love Ouroborodoro decks. Those are just fun, and you can get really creative with those, but I think Dark Destruction is just a solid deck, certainly with the Revenge deck. And then, of course, Nerdagante with the Spike Launch. And that's what he has listed as like the Ulta meta deck. So let's just take a peek at the decks that he has listed. If you want a deck, and if you came here for a solid deck, let's take a peek at what Iowateppen has listed here. So the first deck he has is a Gingras, did I say that right? Ryu's deck. And he has some strategy here, so if you want to check it out, check it out. But here's the first deck he's got. And it's got Hadouken, which is it's just a solid hero art for a 7 damage clear. And there's not a lot of cards that really pose a threat that have, that much health that you can deal with it. So, and this deck is pretty expensive. So if you're, if you want to craft one deck and go all in on one deck, this is a solid deck. I've seen like some top 10 guys play this style deck. Maybe a little changes here and there, but he's got like this the guy card up there. A 3-cost card. I'm starting to like those aggressive cards that are like you put them on the board and it's almost gonna hit. So like late game when you guys are down to a couple little health, that's a great little surprise attack just to get those quick two hits in. And the other thing I like about these decks is they have a lot of cards that do damage on drop. So you can drop a card, it does some damage, it clears maybe another card on the board, clears a lane, and I think it's just fun. And then it has switch to different. There we go. The Kennedy card here. The Kennedy card here is great because it's like if you get this on the field and they don't deal with it, like you need to clear this card if you see this card on the table because it enhances all those damages. And then of course he's got 2 ladies. Those lady cards and the BB Hood cards are key. They're such good cards. They're definitely worth crafting. And the dragon, right here, this Dragon Lord's Judgment is a great card too. At first, I didn't craft it with my first deck, and then I crafted it because it's just a great 5 card for like 12 damage. It's great. And then the Dread King Rathalos is a good card too. And a lot of these cards, the Dread King Rathalos and the Fate Defying Ryu, those are sort of like your win condition cards, but not really. I mean, this is a great control deck, but those are sort of like you're like, oh, and you got to play around some of the hard removals. But here's the code for that deck. Here we go. That top one, that's the code for that deck. So take a picture of it. Give it a try if you need a Ryu deck. This next deck is what has he got here? The next deck he has is the Rathalos deck. This is inspired by Fafron. And this is, yeah, like the red-green Rathalos is sort of like the key, and it's a super fun deck to play. It's a super fun deck. You're sort of waiting on, you're getting yourself set up with one lane, and then you buff that card up, and then you fly over the top. I think I did a video on it, and you can build this a little bit differently, but the concept is pretty much the same. And you don't really need crazy big cards to make it work, because you have like your feline or your iris, and those cards, I mean, you just get one of those on there, and then you buff it up a couple times, and you just need it to hit a couple times to make it work. But for me, I feel like the hard clears are what sort of hurt you on this deck. That's because I can deal with these decks pretty well, but if you can get it off and someone doesn't have an answer for it, it's good. And I really like this Reckless Charge. I would almost put more Reckless Charges in the deck, because the Reckless Charge is one of those cards where you can get your Wrath Awoken off, and then if he's flying and they don't have a defense for the flying, you can almost get another second hit in with just the one cost. So, well, it's a great deck. It's a great deck. So here's the code for that deck. Boom. Take a peek. Take a peek if you need it. If you need it, take a peek. All right, let's take a look at his third deck he's got here. This is a Celerity deck, which is, I'm familiar with Celerity. I think I've copied some of Celerity's decks before. But this is a Chunli Yawn deck, and I like the Yawn decks. I really do like the Yawn decks. It utilizes some of the big cards. One thing about the Yawn decks is like it's you can just win that MP war, and then just sort of dominate with some bigger cards. Like the Chunli, like if they don't have hard removal for Chunli, Saxophone will just play you out. It's dominant. And Zangief is a great card here. So full green, so you got some Chunlis, some Zangiefs. The Advanced Artifact is a really fun card too, because you can steal some, I like stealing a Revenge or something like that. And this Soul Offering, I've seen it been played a lot more now. It's like a 7/7 seal, so you can get it, like you can get a card pretty big. And then Heavenly Kicks is a great card if they can't deal with it. Certainly if you can get a Beast Cannon on there. So that's the deck. It's got one evasive action to sort of deal with one evasive action to deal with some Dantes and stuff like that. But this is a deck that you make trades and then you just get yourself you just win the board. And here's let's see, this is the code for that. There's a code for this deck. Try it out. Give it a try. Give it a try. Give it a try. All right, the next deck that he's got on here is Evaz's Dante deck. And now Dante, it's Dante's. He's a Dante player, and I'm not great at Dante, but Dante, it's all about the wham bam. Like you get your one unit, it's a Buki or something like probably an Ibuki. You get them on the board, and you use your cards, you use your fly, just all your cards, and you buff these bros up, and then you use your hidden intent, your negate to remove the hard counters. And you can go on big streaks with this deck, but if you mess up, you're screwed. So it's really technical. It's really tough to play, but if you can pull it off and you get good at it, yeah, you can just roll people with this deck. What I've frustrated with is like so many times with this deck, I start out with a dead hand. So there's that. You got to deal with that. But it's a good deck. Devil Trigger. I'll show you the code for that guy. Is this it? Is this Devil? Yeah. Right here. This guy. Boo. Devil Trigger. Take a peek. Take a look. Yeah, this is a tough way, but if you can learn it, it's fun too. The Hidden Intent, I think, is an expensive card. There's some expensive cards in here, so a lot of these cards take a little bit to whatever, but... Alright, so here's where maybe I'll defer here. So the next deck he's got is this Albert Wesker deck, and then he's probably Wesker's my main now, so I'm top 50, so I'm pretty good. Who's he pulling this deck from? Okay, this is Iowa's deck. So we'll take a peek at it. We'll do a review. So I like running way more hard clears. And if you see my deck, I have a lot of hard clears, and I don't like to sacrifice that much. Like, I don't run crows because I don't like to take that damage. I don't run psycho power, just because I don't really think I need it. So I run more revenge cards, I think, than he does. Maybe no. I run some bigger defensive cards than he does. But pretty similar deck. He's got 3 of the sample collection. I need to take a look at that sample collection card because maybe it's worth it. But I think that does sacrifice a random, and I like having, just for the 6 cost, having the exact removal that I want. So, but Dark Destruction is a great deck. We'll give you the code for that guy right here. Boom, boom, boom. Check it out. Check out the Dark Destruction deck. All right, let's see what next he's got is the he's got his Nair Gigante deck. Now this is probably the biggest of the meta decks. This is like the one you're gonna see most of all. So if you're new to the game, it's good to learn how to play this so you know what to wait for. Okay, and this is I'm looking at this deck. This is pretty standard in terms of what everyone's playing. You have a lot of you have your sacrifice cards, your great Gyros, crows. You know, you got Williams in there, and you just sacrifice down, get your spike launch up, and then poke them down. It's pretty. I mean, if you can learn how to play this deck, you'll rake up. So I would encourage people to play just so they know how to deal with it, because I don't really struggle with these decks anymore. I used to, but now I think I know how to play it. Like a lot of key to this deck is just pretty much outliving him. And he's running a lot of people have switched out of the selfless protection, because these heals, like sibling memories and stuff like that, like you can't really negate these. Like Abel's are great because you can't really negate that heal when you get it off. So this is a solid deck. If you guys wanna level up, that's the deck, and here's the code. So yeah, that's the Lysias. Go check out this article. It's a great article, and it really goes into in depth in terms of each of one of those decks. So if you guys are looking to play any of those decks, go check out this article for some more in depth stuff. I'll be playing some more decks this week. I'll come up with some more creative stuff. But for now, thanks for watching. In the comments below, let me know what you think. If you have some better decks, I might start doing some deck reviews. So if you have a great deck, let me know. I'll check it out. Maybe we'll review it here on the channel. But until then, thanks for watching. Have a great night, and we'll see you guys next time.